Okay, hi, welcome back. Welcome to the Elyse DeLucci Show. I'm your host, Elyse DeLucci. Welcome to my living room. We're broadcasting live from my living room, as usual, in Manhattan, from the Upper East Side of Manhattan. How are you doing? How's your week going? It's good? So, okay, this is what we're talking about today. Is he a bad texter? I know. It's 2020. Can you imagine you're still dating or seeing somebody that's a shitty texter? Yeah, it exists. So we're talking about that. How to make a boxed cake taste better. I have a mild obsession with anything Duncan Hines, specifically when it's on sale at ShopRite for 99 cents. I learned that you could do certain things to make it taste better, like add an extra egg. So we're talking about that. And are you a single mom? You know, obviously I'm a single mom. And when you go on dates, if you are a single mom and you go on dates, do you want to keep the mom out of the single mom date life? Okay. That's a thing. And then I found this product that makes your nail polish last longer. It's a top coat, but we're going to get into it. I can hate when I get a manicure and 3 days later it's chipping. So anyway, take a sip of your drink, sit back, relax, and talk to your girl, Elyse. Fact of the day. Listen to this. Do you know there's about 700 grapes that go into one bottle of wine? Did you know that? That's a lot of grapes. That's approximately 2.5 pounds, a little over 2.5 pounds. If you're wondering how much fruit are you getting when you drink wine, because it's like I didn't have any fruit for a week. No, it's okay. I had fruit. I had a few bottles of wine. Well, you had 1,400 grapes if you're wondering. Okay, 700 grapes in a bottle of wine. It's Prime Day. It's Prime Day today, Tuesday. Happy Prime Day, Amazon Prime Day, October 13th. And you know what I wanted? I logged onto Amazon and when I first woke up in the morning, as I do, because I have a shopping problem. And I see this thing on my homepage, and it's called, the brand is Planter's Choice. It's a 9-herb window garden. I have it open right here. It says 40-piece kit, includes everything you need to grow like a pro. I was going crazy. Basil, chives, dill, cute little windowsill herb garden. And I live in an apartment, so this is beautiful for me. And even if you don't live in an apartment, maybe you don't want to go outside your sliding glass door and go trek it to all the way the backwoods, the back corner of your yard to get some basil for a sauce. How beautiful is this? You just put this on your windowsill. Well, guess what? There I am on Prime Day this morning, and I'm like, oh, add to cart. It was $30-something, and it was like a Prime Lightning deal for $22. And I added to cart, and I said, if I'm still thinking about this by the end of the day, I'm going to buy it. So, of course I was, natch. I was still thinking. And so around 4 o'clock today, I go to buy it. And guess what? Sold out. And it's still available, though. It's still available. I should say, it's not sold out. It's still available for $30-something. It's sold out for the Prime Lightning price of maybe $23. I don't want it in the 30s. I want it in the 20s. It's so ridiculous. It's like you can't buy it with a coupon, but you could still buy it. Well, guess what? Not me. I'm not buying that. So, how was your week? How was your weekend? Was it good? Columbus Day, long weekend. Did you have off from work? I had off from work. I went to the Met Museum on Fifth Avenue and 81st Street. It was so nice. It was so nice. I didn't go for anything specific. I'm actually a member there. If you go. Well, by the way, let me say, if you live in New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut, you can go to the Met Museum and you can pay whatever you want. You just show them your driver's license, and it's a pay-as-you-wish thing. So the regular fee to get in is $25. But if you live in New York and you show them your license, you could give them $1. You could give them $10. I guess it's a benefit, right? But I actually joined. I joined not too long ago. It's $200 for a yearly membership. I have the 2 kids, and it's such a nice thing to do with the girls. Like especially when it's raining, take them. They could walk around. They could go see this stuff. There's kids art sort of in the lobby, which they like to look at. So I joined, and it was so nice. I was looking at the the Egyptians and the tombs and all the hieroglyphics, and it's just the coolest. It's the coolest thing ever. So I hope you did something fun. Enjoyed the long weekend. You know what else I did? I made a steak. I know. Nothing to write home about. And you are probably listening, and you probably have the luxury of a barbecue. And I would love a barbecue. I would. If you put me in a kitchen, 190 square foot kitchen, I could whip you up a meal. If you put me, I should say, a kitchen inside a 190 square foot apartment, I could whip you up a meal. I can. But if you put me in front of a barbecue, I wouldn't even know I wouldn't even know how to turn that grill on. But I was dying for steak. I was dying for steak the other day. So I was in the store and I bought a porterhouse steak. It was about a pound and a half, almost 2 inches thick. And I got it home, threw it in the freezer on the weekend, Saturday, take it out of the freezer. And I'm like, I'm going to cook this steak, baby. And I take out my cast iron skillet and I'm about to do it. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, there's another way to cook this steak that I read about. And I'm going to try it. And I did. And it's wonderful. It's called reverse searing the steak. Have you heard of this? Reverse searing the steak. I read about it in a magazine, like a Women's Day magazine, while I was online at the supermarket. I took a screenshot of it and I stored it in my recipes to try, things to do, sort of folder in my iCloud album. So it was great. Let me tell you what I did. So you take the steak, right? You take it, you let it defrost or whatever. You put it on a plate and then you sprinkle it with salt, about a teaspoon of salt. So for my pound and a half of steak, I did a teaspoon of salt. And that's the rule of thumb, apparently, according to the recipe. It's for every pound and a half, you want to do a teaspoon of salt. And then you put the steak in the fridge and you let it sort of marinate overnight or for a few hours. It has to be like minimum 3 hours. And this is called dry brining. They say that this is important because the steak actually gets, the salt gets into the meat. Oh, and by the way, you don't cover it. So you put it on the plate, you do the salt, you put it in the fridge uncovered overnight of 3 hours. And that's called dry brining. The salt, it gets into the meat. It really flavors the meat for a long time, as opposed to like putting it in a Ziploc bag and doing a marinade. So anyway, ding, 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 overnight is ready, morning time, ready to cook. And you preheat the oven to 250. You put it in low. You put that steak on a grill pan, or a broiler pan in your oven, and then you let it cook in there. You let it slow roast for 50 minutes. So for a pound and a half steak, I cooked it for 50 minutes at 250, slow. And then when it's finished, you take the steak out of the oven. Okay, put it on the counter, keep it on the pan, put it on the counter, get that cast iron skillet out, put a pan of butter in there, get it nice and hot, and then you sear the steak for about, 60 seconds on each side. Get the nice grill marks, and then you're done. And let me tell you what you get from that. You get a gorgeous steak. You do. I know, it's so funny. Let me tell you something. I bought this porterhouse steak. I don't know how much I paid for it. Maybe I paid $15 or something for it. There was no way in God's green earth that I was going to roast a steak. I just thought, I just might as well take $15 and flush it down the drain. But I was like, you know what? You only live once. I'm going to go for it. And it was delicious. So you put the steak on a plate with some salt, put it in the oven, put it in the fridge overnight, take it out, roast it in the oven, a low heat, 225, 250 for about 50 minutes. That was mine for a pound and a half. And then, by the way, that's medium well. And then you sear it quick. And you're done. You serve it. You don't even have to let it rest. And of course, because I have an eating issue, of course, after I took it off the pan, I put more butter on it before I served it, but it was so good. If you want to Google it, I think you could Google it. It's called reverse searing. Reverse searing. I totally recommend. So, is he a bad texter? Are you dating? Are you dating somebody that's a shitty texter? Is your husband a bad texter? You definitely know bad texters? And this doesn't only really apply, by the way, to men, but it kind of does. I mean, it could be a girlfriend, but a girlfriend, you could say to your girlfriend, Jennifer, your texting is misery. It's misery to read your text. Can you change it, please? You can't say that to a guy. You're trying to play the game. And so this is what I learned. Listen, some people are just bad writers. These people, the people that are bad texters, I've learned in my experience at least, they're very easygoing in person. Easygoing, they don't really care. They're like Switzerland. Everything is neutral to them. And then you get these guys on text and they're a horror. They're an absolute horror. I mean, I get it. Not everybody's going to be Jane Austen on text, but bad texting, that's hard because we text all the time. It's like talk, who calls anymore? And the thing is at the end of the day, is the guy great? Is he an awesome guy? Because if he's an awesome guy, then you have to figure out a way to work around it. But but in my opinion, there's nothing more disappointing. You meet a guy, gorgeous, Greek Adonis, hard worker, a loving family guy, cordial, chivalrous, takes his grandmother to the supermarket once a week. And then after the date, you get back to your place, when he's at his place, and you look at your phone and he writes, "Nice night. Talk soon." And you're like, what? What? You should have proposed to me. That's how great the date was. And this is the text that I get. Wah, wah, right? But it's like, so I've been there, done that. There's lots of different types of bad texters, which we'll get into in a second. But but at the end of the day, listen, if he's texting like a jerk, and then he is a jerk, well, he's got to go. He's got to go. You don't have time for that. But or if he texts like a jerk and then he checks out other women, like while you're out, he's also got to go, right? So it's like, what is his actions? What are his actions like in person? But to the point, you got to decide if this is something you want to deal with. Is the bad texting something that's really going to get in the way of your relationship? But if it bothers you from the beginning, I have learned it's always going to be a thing. It's always going to be a thing. So my 2 cents is, you got to bring it up. You just got to address it. Just hit it out of the park. Just, you're a terrible texter. Mike, I like you. We got to do something about the texting. That might be my style. You might want to be a little more demure, This is probably why I'm always single. But, no, and listen, there's no right or wrong way for him to text. I mean, that's the thing. So you have to be careful. You don't want to insult him. Guys, they're so touchy. They're precious egos. All of a sudden, you're like, you're a shitty texter. And they're like, oh, she hurt my feelings. You're a bitch. Yeah, no, it's not about that. It's like, so you approach them gently. But, I always say, listen, there's not a right or wrong way to text. There's not a normal way, air quotes, for us to text. I'm not trying to shame you. Well, I don't actually say that, but you don't want to shame them, of course. You don't want to shame them for their natural communication habits. That would be terrible. But you do have to talk about it. You do have to talk about it. Like, there are texters out there that it's just pathetic. Like, and if you're on any of those dating apps, you've had your taste of them. Like, the guy that texts like a teenager, every text is LOL, exclamation, question mark, exclamation, smiley face, thanks, cutie. Like, really? Well, how old are you? How old? Because last time I checked, I thought you were 43, but you're texting like you're 14. That's miserable. And then, the guy that writes the ellipses after every text, okay, ... sounds good, ... see you later, ... Why is he doing that? Why are you doing that? Why? What? Is this a Danielle Steele novel? Like, you breathy until the next text comes? You're making me nauseous. Oh, and this is something we're at fault of, girls. We are the gusher. We're gushy text. Gushers. We gush. It's like, the guy's like, how are you? What'd you say? Well, I went to the gym, and then I went to the smoothie bar, and then, I got a pedicure, and then I blew up my hair, and now I'm feeding my cat. It's like, what? No. No, but we'll talk about it in a second, how you should be texting him. And by the way, I'm not an expert. I'm an expert in nothing. And this is just world according to Elyse, of course. But the worst of all are these two texters. Is the guy that I just described earlier, the guy that says, when you say, hi, how are you? Good. What do you want to do? Movie. Oh, okay. Where should we go? I'll get tickets. Like, really? Are you a caveman? Because this is what you sound like. This is what you sound. And God forbid, you tell this guy, this caveman texting, you tell caveman texter how he sounds on text. He thinks there's nothing wrong with it. So he's the worst to me. And then the other guy that when you text him, or you text him back, I should say, and he disappears. It's like, we were just in a conversation. Where are you going? Where did you go? Getting a slice of American cheese out of the fridge takes 2 seconds. You could text and walk. You could text and chill. Where'd you go? I can't stand it. I just can't stand it. So, if you're listening to this and you've been married for 20 years, you're hitting the apps. You're back on the scene. You're about to get your hands wet in the dating scene. You're loving life. Well, guess what? I got news for you, Tuts. Be prepared for this texting situation. First of all, nobody calls. Nobody calls. God forbid anybody calls you on the phone anymore. That's like that's like an engagement ring. You call, oh God, he's calling me on the phone. He must want to marry me. No, but everybody's texting. And then but you have to prepare yourself. If you're newly single, you have to prepare yourself for this bad, bad, bad texting. If you've been single for a while, then you just know. And if you're younger, by the way, if you're in your 20s or however old, then you just know. You just know that you know how to text, and hopefully, most likely, the guys, they're digital natives, so they also know how to text, so you're not dealing with cavemen texting. But for some of us, that's a very real thing. But as for you, texting him, do you ever think about how you should text him? I'm sure you do. I always think about how I'm texting him, and this is my opinions on that. When I first meet a guy, I let him text first. If he texts me, I will answer, but I wait a little bit. So, I first meet him. I'm not going to go, after that first date, I don't go home and say, oh, thanks for dinner, nice night. Never. Never. I want, even though I'm waiting by the phone, even though he just dropped me off, even though he just dropped me off in the cab and I'm sitting on my couch, twiddling my thumbs. Oh my God, when is he going to text me? Oh my God, looking at my phone, checking it obsessively. I want him to think that I am home. I have another man at my house, or I am in the shower, or I'm doing something so exciting. I will never text him first. I let him text first, and then I'll wait like 10 minutes and I'll answer. And those 10 minutes are torture, by the way. You get that text from him. Oh, nice to meet you. It was great. We had a great time tonight. Or like, oh, that kiss was so nice. I want to take you out tomorrow. And I'm like, desperate. I'm chomping at the bit to write back. I want to write back right now, but I can't. You can't do it. You have to wait. You have to wait 10 minutes. And then I also use limited emojis. Smiley face only. I don't do blushing face, face with hearts, love eyes, no crying cat faces, none of this. I limited emojis. I want to keep it tight. I do not use exclamation points in the beginning, early stages of texting. I text, basically what I'm trying to say is I text like I'm texting my boss at work, but a little softer. So, with my boss, obviously I'm going to be 100% professional. I'm not going to be using emojis, and I might say things like, oh, I'll circle back with you in a few minutes on that. I'm not going to say that kind of office nonsense, but I will text like I'm at work, but I use softer words, and I don't give any additional information than I'm asked. So that gusher stuff, if he says to me, if he texts me, on a Saturday morning, hey, what are you doing? Oh, just got back from the gym. You? Yeah, that's it. They like the mystery. They need that. They like the mystery. If you wait 10 minutes, if you wait 20 minutes, that's even better. If you don't tell them everything, that's wonderful. And if you always let them text you first, and by the way, I have a boyfriend right now, and even still, I do not text him first. If he texts me, I respond, of course, and I respond right away because he's my boyfriend. But I will never text him first, like in the morning. So this morning, for example, today, Tuesday morning, I woke up, I started, took a shower, I started working. I didn't text him. How are you? Good morning, doll. No, I would never. Now, the younger version of Elyse would definitely do that, but I don't anymore. I wait for him to text me. Today, he texts me around 11:50 a.m. Hey, babe, how you doing? Hope you have a good day. And I wrote, oh, you too. Hope you have a good meeting. I know you had a lunch meeting. Hope you have a good meeting. That's it. I'm not texting him first. No. I learned the hard way on that one. That's my 2 cents. So winter's coming. It's kind of like, the poundage is coming. The freshman 15. It's like the winter worry weight just around the corner. I have it. It's starting already. And so I was in the store, Duncan Hines cakes, the boxes, they're on sale for 99 cents. Like, why do I need a box strawberry cake? Well, I'm never going to make that. I'm never going to use that unless my kids are just absolutely being so annoying and I'm totally out of funfetti and I need to make a pink cake for them. That's the only time I use it. But, I bought it. And I started thinking about, I love box cakes. I love box brownies, but boxed cakes, I started thinking, we could add things to them. I can add things to them to jazz them up. Like, okay, most box cakes, they call for 3 eggs, and if you want to put an extra egg in it, what happens is it makes a richer tasting cake. It makes it more moist. That's right. I know that word. It's a horror, but it does. But it really does. If you add an extra egg to a box cake, it makes it more moist. It does. And then another trick that I learned is if any box cake, if it calls for water, if the recipe calls for water, it's like, oh, fourth of a cup of water. If you replace that with dairy, milk, or even buttermilk, but I never have buttermilk in my fridge. By the way, anytime a recipe calls for buttermilk, I'm so annoyed. I'm automatically not making it because that means I gotta put on shoes, go out of my house, and go spend $4.95 on a carton of buttermilk that I'm never gonna use. But if you add dairy to a box cake in place of water, it tastes more homemade. And especially if you're having a party, everything should be homemade, right? But my favorite thing to do with the box cake, is you have any Jello lying around the house, Jello pudding. So if you take if you have like a chocolate box cake, chocolate devil's food cake, and if you have a box of chocolate pudding, Jello, the powder. Don't make the pudding first. Don't make the pudding, but if you just add that little packet of pudding right to the mix. So it might say 3 eggs, a quarter cup of oil, a vegetable oil, a quarter cup of water, and then I just also put in the little packet of dry pudding. It is so good. I don't even know what it does. It just is delicious. It's delicious. It makes it moist and it gives it like more of a yummy flavor. I know I know. Like we're not even together in person, you and I, me and you, wherever you are, and I'm describing something as yummy flavor. Well, it is. And the last thing that about box cakes is, well, 2 things. One, you can always, by the way, throw a little extra vanilla in there. You got a little teaspoon of vanilla, throw it in. Because a little vanilla is good. A little vanilla is good. But you also could put, add-ins. So like sometimes I'll put flaked coconut. I love chocolate and coconut together. Sometimes I'll put that in there. You know what you could even do? You know what you could do? You can get, and by the way, I'm not just pulling the shit out of my ass. This is all stuff that I've done, by the way. I do. I cook all the time. I cook and bake all the time. But the other thing you could do is if you have, if you're in the store and you see those pie mixes, the pie fillings, like cherry pie filling, it's a can, it's like a 15-ounce can. You could get one of those cans and you could put it right into the mix. So the same thing. You got your mixed cake, you got the oil, the eggs, the water, and then you know what? You put in a 15-ounce can of cherry pie mix right in. There you go. Chocolate cherry cake. Delicious. Yeah, this is what you could do. Jazz it up. And and obviously, if you have any type of frosting, you can also, if you put a little vanilla in the frosting, a little couple drops of vanilla in the frosting, or if you're doing Cool Whip, you put a little extra drops of vanilla in the Cool Whip. That always makes it taste homemade. It always does. This is, I didn't eat dinner. This is this is not a good idea, because the second this podcast is over, I'm doing a beeline for that pantry, and I'm about to get out a butty yellow golden. This is why I wear leggings every day. This is why I can't wear jeans. I can't wear them. I can't because I just eat all the time. I have to unbutton my pants. All my shirts have to be long. Because I unbutton my jeans and I and I need something to cover it. Like if you and I ever met each other and we went out to dinner and I'm sitting on the opposite. Know that I'm sitting there with my pants open because I'm making extra room for all the disco fries while I'm eating in the diner. Yeah. This is what I do on dates too. And you know what? It's because of the box cakes. This is the problem. I know. So, okay. I say this, I feel like every episode, like that I'm a single mother, I live in the city. Like eventually I'm going to stop because I'm going to think that you remember. But I am a single mother. And dating is hard. I mean, there's so much to talk about as dating as a single mom. And like, when I say dating as a single mom, I don't really mean dating as a single mom with older kids. I'm not, God, take a sip of water. I'm not, you're of course still a single mom dating if your kids are away in college or if your kids are 30, but it's different when your kids are young, like in junior high or in diapers. Like that's just a totally different ballgame. And is this you? Are you single? Are you mom? Do you want the mom part to stay in your dating life, or do you want it out? Because I don't want it in my dating life. Now here's the thing. I love my daughters, more than anything in the whole entire world, just like you love your kids more than anything in the whole entire world. And I want to talk about them. I do talk about them. Well, with my boyfriend, of course I talk about my kids. I talk about my kids all the time. But when I first meet somebody, I don't talk about them. And here's the thing. If I met somebody on an app online, I'm not talking about my kids. They don't even need to know how old my kids are. They don't need to know where I live, how old my kids are. They need to know nothing about my kids except that I have kids, because that's fair. You got to tell them. But I don't talk about them. But if it's say somebody set me up, or I met somebody, maybe through the PTA, like that's ever happened. Can you imagine all of a sudden you're at a PTA meeting and hot dad walks in, single? Never. Rich? Never happening. But if I know the person somehow, and I would normally, I'm obviously comfortable to talk about my kids, I still don't. In the beginning, I don't want to talk about them. I know I have children. They know I have children. And it's ultra personal. It's ultra personal to me. And also, I just want to have some fun. It's that simple. I want to have fun. What do you think about that? Even if you don't have kids, by the way, I'm curious to what you're thinking, because listen, you totally get that wanting to have, if you do not have children, you're listening to this, you could understand why I would want to just go have some fun, knock some martinis back. I don't want to talk about the PTA with you, especially if you don't have kids, especially if the guy doesn't have kids. But it really is personal. But you also really need to consider the other party, don't you think? Like, if he has kids, so say you're dating a guy, right? You're dating a guy, you're on the third date. If he has kids and you have your children, fine. Then it's okay. It's okay to talk, talk about the kids, talk about school. It's common ground. It's a bonding thing. You could be the next Brady Bunch for all you know, right? But if he doesn't have kids, like, you really got to think about that. So, it's like, I don't want to talk about them because it's ultra personal, because I want to just have some fun, but I'm also really considering the other party. Like, if this guy is a dyed-in-the-wool bachelor, one of these guys that's just never gotten married, no kids, and he's a silver-haired fox, like Mr. Big, you really got to consider, because think about it. Does he want to hear about your kids 24/7? Does he want to be sharing like some chocolate-covered strawberry fondue with you and hear about what Timmy ate for a snack, and how Timmy threw a tantrum at daycare because somebody colored in his coloring book outside the lines? Let me answer that. No, no. He doesn't give a shit. He literally doesn't give a shit. He might say, by the way, if it slips out because you're so stressed about it, he might say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Oh, but he doesn't really want to hear about that. He wants to hear about you. He wants to hear what you're interested in. He wants to hear what makes you tick. He almost wants to hear about like how you were pre-kids. It's not that he's discounting the fact that you have kids. It's not that that's a strike against you. That's just my opinion. And the thing is once you start talking about kids to another man, to another man, because that's me in drag. Once you start talking about your children, in the early stages of dating, to a new man that does not have kids, you're also planting these thoughts in his head that he might not be thinking about. Like, he might be thinking, is this broad looking for me to pay for her kids? Like, I don't want to hear about another man's kids. Guys are funny like that. Like, they're like territorial, it's like, I like women, X marks the spot. Like, they do not want to necessarily hear about some other man's kids. I mean, maybe you're dating an angel. But it's just, the whole thing is just funny. That's why I just like to keep it out. On date 4 and 5, if you have kids, we could start the talking. It's the common ground. Maybe on date 4 and 5, if you don't have kids, I'll start sprinkling a few things in here and there. But I am not telling him that I just ate my kid's leftover Velveeta, before I came out on the date. I am not telling him that I have runs all over my tights because my children were mowing me down with their Lego cars, before I was leaving the house. I am not telling him that. I think we have to still remain sexy and stuff. One time I went on a date with this guy, I met him on an app. You know what he said to me? What a psycho. This is a psychopath. We're on the date. He knows I have kids. I'm not talking about them. And he says to me, Elyse, you haven't mentioned your kids at all. Where are they? Are they okay? I said to him, who the F are you? Like, who the F are you? First of all, I am not dad shopping. Thank you very much. I am not dad shopping. And my child's health and safety is my business. You don't have to make sure that where they are. Like, they're with the babysitter or they're with the grandmother. Like, they're safe and they're fine. And that's my business. I was like, can you imagine? Like, maybe he was just trying to be cute, but like, that's not cute to me. Asking me where my kids are. Go take a hike. But, overall, I just want to go out and have fun, and I don't want to. I don't want to think about that. I'm going to have to wake up at 5 a.m. and feed somebody oatmeal, and I don't want to freak him out. Like, it's a different world. I mean, you know this. Like, if you date somebody and they don't have kids after the date is over, they might go on another date. That's the reality, right? That's might go on another date. Or they're going to go home. They might watch a movie. They might have some snacks at 2 a.m. Guess what? This guy maybe owns a gorgeous penthouse somewhere. And he could sleep till 1 a.m. till the light beams into his giant, flawless, toyless penthouse. The light beams in there. And then he can get up and he could go for a run and he could go meet his friends at the bar. He could actually go to the airport and go to Greece if he wants. That's his life. And you're waking up at 5 a.m. making oatmeal, watching Peppa Pig on the couch, thinking, what the hell happened to my life? What am I doing? Right? So I listen, at the end of the day, I only date a man that I really like, and I find them to be really respectful. And if the man cares about me, he's going to care about all of me. He's going to care about the whole package, and he's going to care about all of you, and he's going to care about your whole package, which is you and your children, you and your one child, you and your 10 children. He's going to care about you. But in the beginning, I want to keep it that way. I want to keep it away. Okay, so you get manicures? Sure you do. Right? Do you get the gel manicure? I don't get gel. I never gotten a gel manicure. My girlfriends, they think I'm crazy. Why don't you get gel? It's like a few dollars more, Elyse. Get gel. You're so cheap. I'm like, no, I'm not cheap. I'm not cheap. I don't want to do it. It ruins my nails. I already know. I know from having tips way too long when I was younger. Or when like a tip would break and then I have them kind of like make another tip with just the gel on the nail. I know how it is. I'm not doing it. I don't get gel manicures. I just get regular manicures. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, I don't know if this salon I'm going to is giving me bum nail polish in the Essie bottles or something, but it starts chipping after a few days, and it drives me crazy. And I know it drives you crazy. So I found a top coat that I love. It's called, it says gel in it, by the way. It says gel in the title, but it's not gel. Essie Gel Couture Platinum Grade Finish Top Coat. I know, what a name. This is on Amazon. Essie Gel Couture Platinum Grade Finish Top Coat. It's a small bottle of nail polish. It's a white bottle. It's cute. It's like a hexagonish, rhombus sort of shaped white bottle of nail polish. It's Essie. It's $10. It's expensive for a top coat. But you put it on. First of all, you put it on your nails. It dries fast. That's the first thing. 2, it literally makes your nails look professional again. I swear to God. I just put it on my nails today. Right now I have the nail Essie color fishnet stockings on my nails. It's like, a reddish, almost like a plummish reddish, like a dark red, but not as red as, Essie Bordeaux. And, in my manicure it's been a minute. So I put the Essie top coat on, this Essie Gel Couture Platinum top coat. My nails are shiny like new. They will go for another 5 days. It is marvelous. It's marvelous. You can put a thick coat on your nails. Literally, they look gorgeous. If it's super fast, by the way, just slap a thin coat on there and it's fine. But I love it. I totally recommend. Okay, questions from the audience. So every week I take a couple of questions from my TikTok girlfriends. I ask, hey, you girls want to talk about anything? Or I get them in my messages. So, and I pick a couple at random and I do my best to answer them. And I'm not an expert, as I always say, but that's okay. Number one, question 1, what's your go-to comfort food? Really? You really want to know you care what my macaroni and cheese and spare ribs. That's my go-to comfort food. That's right. First of all, if you bring me to any Southern restaurant, I'm getting cornbread, I'm getting mac and cheese, I'm getting baby back ribs slathered in the sauce. I don't want even dry rub, I want slathered. But if I had to have my last day meal, right? I'm getting macaroni and cheese. I don't even care if it's the Blue Box Blues. I want macaroni and cheese. And I also want Chinese spare ribs. Mm. There used to be a place in the city called Nancy Lee's Pig Heaven. Oh my God, these ribs were out of this world, like candy. By the way, this woman, Nancy Lee, she lives in northern New Jersey. If you happen to know her, I mean, honest, I'm dead serious. This woman, Nancy Lee, she owned this restaurant on the Upper East Side of Manhattan called Nancy Lee's Pig Heaven. They were known for their spare ribs. Everybody who's everybody used to go there. Woody Allen was always there, all celebs. They are the most delicious spare ribs in the whole entire world of worlds. And then Nancy Lee's Pig Heaven. She sold the restaurant after like 25, 30 years. She sold it to somebody else. It's still called Pig Heaven. You can still go. And you can still get the ribs, but they're not as good as Nancy Lee's spare ribs. But it's still Pig Heaven. It's still on the Upper East Side. It's on 3rd Avenue, but the Nancy Lee name is missing. But anyway, so Nancy Lee, it's Chinese broad, most fabulous woman. I am not lying to you. This woman had an oil painting portrait in her Chinese restaurant of herself in a gold leaf frame. I mean, she was killing it at the Chinese food game. She was the nicest restaurant owner. She was always there. First of all, she's always at the restaurant, which is always a nice sign when the owner's walking around, right? She's always at the restaurant. She knew everybody's name, everybody by name, all the customers, or at least the common, the customers, the regulars. She know us all by name. She always was dressed impeccably, always gorgeous, thick velvet jackets with big, rhinestone encrusted clasps. She was wonderful. She had a beautiful party on New Year's. Maybe you'd pay $100 for a ticket. You could go by yourself or go with a date. And it was such a fun New Year's party with delicious food and music. But the reason why everybody went to Nancy Lee's Pig Heaven, the reason why it was a who's who of Chinese restaurants in the city was because these ribs were like ribs you've never tasted in your entire one bite, your whole mouth is melted. Literally, my mouth is dripping. So anyway, I found out that she lives in northern New Jersey. I found this out like a year before she closed the restaurant. I didn't even know she was closing the restaurant. I don't know why she didn't tell anybody, or at least I didn't know. And I was a regular, by the way. But she lives in northern New Jersey, and I'm dying to get this spare rib recipe. And if I ever get it, I would 100% share it with you. But when she sold the restaurant, she definitely didn't sell this magic spare rib recipe. She did. But this is one of my foods, Nancy Lee's spare ribs. Oh, Nancy Lee's Pig Heaven spare ribs. But to be honest, I just like all spare ribs. So, I'm just telling you my absolute favorite of favorites because you asked the question of my go-to comfort food. But I'll take spare ribs from anywhere. Oh, I also like those boneless spare ribs. They come in the little white cotton. They're almost like reddish color. Those are good too. Mac and cheese, spare ribs. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. Question 2. What do I do if he doesn't text me back? So this obviously goes back to our thing before. Okay. You know what you do? If he doesn't text you back, do nothing. Do nothing. Please, I beg you. Don't do anything. Don't text him. You know he's alive. You just saw him a few days ago. Or he's alive. You just saw him post on Instagram. You know also that it takes 10 seconds to send a text. But I wouldn't assume that he's lost interest. I wouldn't panic. I would be blowing up all my girlfriend's phones. That's for damn sure. But I wouldn't panic. I wouldn't assume that he lost interest, because I wouldn't want, when he does text, I wouldn't want that to come through. But do not text him. If you have not heard from him, if he doesn't text you back, wait for him. Wait for him to text you. Because if it's that you haven't heard from him in a few days, like maybe he's doing a ghosting thing and you just gotta live through it. It's painful. You gotta live through it. Or maybe you text him something 2 hours ago and he didn't write you back. Whatever you do, whoever wrote this to me, if you are listening, do not text him 16 times. Don't flood his phone because you haven't heard from him in 2 hours. He might be in a meeting with his boss. Maybe his grandpa's sick. Maybe his mother's sick. Maybe he's sick. And guess what? If he gets to his phone, the next time he sees his phone, he sees 16 messages from you, he's going to be like, she's crazy. I'm done with her. Do nothing. Don't text him. You don't want to play games with him. You do not want to play games with him. He needs to come to you. Men like to pursue. They're the hunters. And listen, here's the goal. Here it really is. This is it. And by the way, This is not easy for me to do either, but this is what it really boils down to. If you hold back, you know that you are in the minority of other girls that are in his mix. If you're not exclusive, because you know, for every one of you that's holding back on the text, not texting him back, not blowing up his phone, you know he has 5 other lunatic girls that are blowing up that phone that are so annoying, and he's writing off left and right. But who's the one he's thinking about? You. He's like, huh, why hasn't Elizabeth texted me? What? I'm hearing from Donna and Brenda and Martina, but why not Elizabeth? Yeah. Oh, you know why? Because you, my friend Elizabeth, you have better things to do. Do nothing, please. I'm begging you. Be cool. Keep it cool. You know, and if you can't keep it cool, write to me on TikTok. I'll talk to you. I'll write to you. We got to help each other out. It's a competition out there, girls. Especially if you're in the city. For every guy, there's 4 women. That's a real stat. Gotta keep it tight, keep it right. Do not text him. Okay, we're closing out today, as we do all podcasts, with a quote. I love this quote. Here it is. Don't be afraid to give up the good to go for the great. So don't be afraid to give up the good to go for the great. John D. Rockefeller. I'm just gonna say it one more time. Don't be afraid to give up the good to go for the great. John D. Rockefeller. I just want to say, we all have those people in our lives, friends and families, that if you have a great job, you know, working down, I don't know, at the local insurance company, you know, you got great benefits, flexible hours, you got a wonderful boss, you know, but you're not passionate about the job, and say you always want to be a singer or something, you always get those friends. Everybody has those friends and that family member that's like, what are you doing? You got a great gig at the insurance company. Look at the benefits you have. Look, you get all this vacation, 3 weeks vacation, and you're going to go throw that all away to be a singer. Guess what? You're never going to get to go to that great if you don't give up the good. I'm not saying, by the way, ditch the good. You could do both, but I love that quote. Don't be afraid to give up the good to go for the great. Okay, that's all. And that's all for today's episode of the Elyse DeLucci Show. Thank you for listening. Please make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to me. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. Make sure you tell your friends. Don't miss an episode. And you know what? I would love it if you could review me. In an Apple Podcast, you could do a review. Like, you can give it 1 star if you want. That's fine. But you could give it 5 stars, and you could write something. I would love that. So anyway, yes, please, thank you for listening. But please subscribe, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Stay tuned for next week's episodes. If you want to know more, you can check me out on Instagram at Elyse DeLucci. You could follow me for daily musings on TikTok at Elyse DeLucci, or you can check out my website, ElyseDeLucci.com. Talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.